Hi students, welcome back to the video class of business regulation. Today we are going to discuss about two types of contracts. They are contracts of indemnity and contract of guarantee. These two contracts are the examples of special contracts. Why these contracts are known as special contracts? In this contract, some special provisions are included. So, apart from the general principle, these types of contract must satisfy some special provisions also to complete that contract. Contracts of bailment and pledge are also the example of special contracts. We can discuss it in our next video. So today we are discussing the topic contract of indemnity and contract of guarantee. So first we can discuss contract of indemnity. As I already told you that a contract of indemnity is a kind of special contract. So what is the meaning of contract of indemnity? The term indemnity means to compensate or make good the loss. Thus, indemnity is an act to compensate or protect somebody against loss or to make good the loss suffered. Contract of indemnity has been defined under section 124 of the Indian Contract Act. So, the definition is contract of indemnity is a type of contract by which one party promises to save the other from the loss caused to him by the conduct of the promiser himself or by the conduct of any other person. So, a contract of indemnity is a special contract in which one party is promises to another that he must save the loss caused to him by the conduct of the promiser himself or by the conduct of any other person. Now, we can discuss the parties who are included in a contract of indemnity. There are mainly two parties are the indemnity holder and indemnifier. The person promises to make good the loss is called indemnifier or promiser, and the person whose loss is to be made good is called the indemnified or indemnity holder, or otherwise we can call that promisee. Once again, the two parties who are included in a contract of indemnity is indemnity holder and indemnifier. Indemnity holder bear the losses and sometimes he is known as promisee who receive compensation. Indemnifier is a person who pay compensation for indemnity's loss, who is promiser. Now look this diagram. This is the way how in contract of indemnity is worked. As I already told you that there is two parties are the indemnity holder and indemnifier. Indemnity holder is promisee and indemnifier is a promiser. Indemnifier promises to compensate the loss suffered and indemnity holder get the compensation. Now we can discuss essential features of indemnity contract. So the essential features are express or implied, compensation of losses, essentials of a valid contract. Now the first feature is express or implied. Contract of indemnity may either be express or implied. Implied contracts are created from the circumstances of the case or from the conduct of the party. Now the next feature is compensation of loss. Contract of indemnity includes the promise made to indemnify loss caused by the human agency as well as the event or accidents not depending on the conduct of the human being. Now the last feature is essentials of a valid contract. A contract of indemnity is also required to possess all the essentials of a valid contract such as consideration, capacity of party, free consent, etc. So these three are the essential features of indemnity contract. Now we can discuss what are the rights of the indemnity holder. Section 125 deals with the rights of indemnity holder. So the first right is right to recover damages. He has the right to recover all the damages. In other words, all damages which he has paid in any suit in respect of any matter to which he promised to indemnify applies. This is the first right. Then the second right is right to recover cost. He is also entitled to recover all costs which he has paid in bringing or defending any suit in respect of the contract of indemnity. Now the third right is right to recover sum paid. He is entitled to recover all the sums which he may have paid under the terms of any compromise of any suit. So these are the rights of indemnity holder. There are mainly three rights, that is right to recover damage and right to recover cost and right to recover sum paid. Now we can discuss the rights of indemnifier. So the rights are right to subrogation, right to refuse indemnity and right to equitize. So the first right is right of subrogation. Subrogation is a process where rights will get shifted from one person to other. It means that after compensating indemnity holder for his loss, the indemnifier has right to sue third party who is liable for that. Now the next right is right to refuse indemnity. Sometimes loss suffered by indemnity holder is beyond the contract. In this case, indemnifier has the right to refuse for compensation. Now the last right is right to equitize. After making payment to the indemnified for the loss, indemnifier is entitled for all equitize which indemnified could have enforced against the third party liable for loss. So these are the important rights of indemnifier. There are mainly three rights. They are right of subrogation, right to equitize, right to refuse indemnity. Now we can discuss the commencement of indemnifier's liability or time of commencement of the indemnifier's liability under the contract of indemnity. Indian Contract Act is silent about the commencement of the liability of the indemnifier, but different high courts have observed different rules on this question. Now a new view is introduced in this regard, which is based on the principle of equity. So the principle of equity has now become a settled law in this connection. The view is that if the indemnity holder had incurred a liability and that liability is absolute, he is entitled to call upon the indemnifier to save him from that liability and pay it off. So this is the new and famous view regarding commencement of indemnifier liability. Once again, if the indemnity holder had incurred a liability and that liability is absolute, he is entitled to call upon the indemnifier to save him from that liability and pay it off. So this is the time of commencement of indemnifier's liability. So these are all about contract of indemnity. Now moving to the next main topic, that is contract of guarantee. A contract of guarantee is also a special type of contract. Its objective is to enable a person to obtain an employment or a loan or some goods or services in credit. That is the main object behind a contract of guarantee. According to section 126 of the Contract Act, a contract of guarantee is a contract to perform the promise or discharge the liability of a third person in case of his default. Now we can discuss the essential features of contract of guarantee. So the first feature is three contracts. There are three contracts in a guarantee. They are between the creditor and the principal debtor, between the surety and the creditor, and between the surety and the principal debtor. Okay. Now the next feature is three parties. There are three parties and all of them must join the contract. So the parties are principal debtor, creditors, surety or guarantor. A principal debtor is a person for whom the guarantee is given in a contract of guarantee. The person to whom the guarantee is given is known as creditor. A surety is a person giving a guarantee in a contract of guarantee. So these are the three persons who are included in a contract of guarantee. So the persons are principal debtor, creditors, surety or guarantor. And now the next feature is capacity to contract. Generally, to create a valid contract, all the parties must be competent to contract. But in a contract of guarantee, the principal debtor may not be a person competent to contract. This is the notable point, that is, in a contract of guarantee, the principal debtor may not be a person competent to contract, but his incapacity should be in the knowledge of the surety. That is the point. His incapacity should be in the knowledge of the surety. Surety must know that there is an incapacity from the part of principal debtor. Then the contract is valid. In such a case, the surety is act as the principal debtor and he is personally liable to pay the debtor. So this is all about capacity to contract. Now the next feature is Debt or liability. There must be a primary liability in some person other than the surety. The primary liability always lies with the principal debtor. The liability of the surety is only secondary in the sense that this liability arises only when the principal debtor fails to pay his debt. If the principal debtor is not failed to pay his debt, there is no liability from the part of surety. Now the next feature is writing is not necessary. Contract of guarantee may be oral or in writing, but under the English law, a contract of guarantee must always be in writing. Now the next feature is essential element of a contract. That means a contract of guarantee must have all the essential element of a valid contract. Now the next feature is consideration. Anything done or anything promise made for the benefit of the principal debtor or may be sufficient consideration to the surety for giving the guarantee. So there must be a consideration in a contract of guarantee. That consideration must be sufficient. Now the next feature is at the request of the principal debtor. Guarantee is given by the surety at the express or implied request of the principal debtor. Now the last feature is free consent. In a contract of guarantee, there must be a free consent of all the parties concerned. So these are all about nature of the contract of guarantee or features of contract of guarantee. Now we can discuss the differences between contract of indemnity and contract of guarantee. So the first difference is based on the purpose of the contract. Contract of indemnity, the main purpose is to save the indemnified from loss caused to him by any event collateral to such a contract. That is the main purpose. But in the case of contract of guarantee, the main purpose is to provide necessary security to the creditor against his debt and a credit to the principal debtor. So this is the first difference. Now the second difference is based on the number of parties. In a contract of indemnity, there are two parties, indemnity holder and indemnifier. Whereas contract of guarantee, three parties are there, principal debtor, surety and the creditor. Now the next base of difference is number of contracts. There is only one contract between the indemnified and the indemnifier in the case of contract of indemnity. Three different collateral contracts between principal debtor and surety, principal debtor and creditor and surety in the case of contract of guarantee. Which means in a contract of indemnity only one type of contract is there, but in contract of guarantee three type of contract is there. Now the next difference is nature of liability. Preliminary liability is of the indemnifier and it arises immediately after loss from the collateral event. That is in the case of contract of indemnity, whereas contract of guarantee, secondary liability is of the surety and it arises only on the default of the principal debtor. Now the next difference is based on consideration. The consideration for the indemnifier is from the creation of the contract. But the consideration for the surety is not direct. The creditor's consideration is considered adequate to the surety. Next is commencement of liability. In contract of indemnity, liability of the indemnifier arises after the happening of the collateral event. In contract of guarantee, liability of the surety arises after the default by the principal debtor. Now the next difference is based on nature of the contract. Indemnity is a contract of contingent nature. Guarantee is a contract of general nature. Next difference is based on right to reimbursement. The indemnifier has no right to reimbursement of the amount paid to the indemnity holder. Whereas in contract of guarantee, the surety has the right of the reimbursement of the amount from the principal debtor which is paid to the creditor. Now the next difference is number of promisers. Indemnifier is the only promiser for the loss of the indemnified party. In the case of contract of guarantee, the surety and the principal debtor are the two promisers for the debt of the creditor. Next is based on scope. Scope of indemnity is limited in itself, whereas scope of guarantee includes indemnity too. So these are the important differences between contract of indemnity and contract of guarantee. Now we can discuss various kinds of guarantee. Guarantee may be various forms. So first we can classify guarantee based on the purpose. So based on purpose, guarantee may be three types, that is for payment of debt, for price, for honesty. So take the first one, that is guarantee for payment of debt. A guarantee may be for payment of debt or loan. This may either for an existing debt or for a future debt. Guarantee for an existing debt is a retrospective guarantee, and for a future debt is prospective guarantee. So under guarantee for payment of debt, guarantee may be retrospective guarantee and a prospective guarantee. Guarantee for an existing debt is retrospective guarantee. Guarantee for future debt is prospective guarantee. Now the second one is guarantee for price. A guarantee may be for the payment of the price of the goods to be sold on credit. That is known as guarantee for price. Once again, a guarantee may be for the payment of the price of the goods to be sold on credit. This kind of guarantee is known as guarantee for price. The last one is guarantee for honesty. A guarantee given for the honesty or good conduct is known as fidelity guarantee. This is generally given when a person is employed as an agent or servant. Once again, for honesty, guarantee may be fidelity guarantee. A guarantee given for the honesty or good conduct, this is known as fidelity guarantee. So this is the first classification, that is on the basis of purpose. Now the second classification, that is on the basis of transaction. On the basis of transaction, guarantee may be simple or specific guarantee and continuing guarantee. So the simple guarantee or specific guarantee means when a guarantee is given in respect of a single debt or specific transaction, it is called as specific or simple guarantee. It comes to an end when the guaranteed debt is duly discharged or the promise is duly performed. Once again, when a guarantee is given in respect of a single debt or specific transaction, it is called as specific or simple guarantee. Now the next one is continuing guarantee. When a guarantee extends to a series of transactions, it is called continuing guarantee. The guarantee given here is intended to cover a number of transactions over a period of time. So this type of guarantee is known as continuing guarantee. The continuing guarantee is not exhausted by the first advance or credit up to the guarantee limit. It depends upon the intention of the parties. So a continuing guarantee is not meant for single transaction, it is continuing in nature. So these are the two types of guarantee under basis of transaction. Now we can discuss the next topic, that is revocation of continuing guarantee. A continuing guarantee as regards future transaction may be revoked under certain circumstances. So the situations are by notice, by death of the surety, by modes of discharge of surety. So the first one is by notice. A continuing guarantee may at any time be revoked by the surety as to future transaction by giving a notice to the creditor. Now the next case is by death of the surety. In the absence of any contract to the contrary, death of the surety operates as a revocation of a continuing guarantee. Now the last one is by discharge of surety or by modes of discharge of surety. A continuing guarantee may also be revoked by the same modes by which a surety is discharged from his liability. This may be by variance in the terms of contract, by release or discharge of principal debtor, by creditors compounding with the principal debtor, by creditors act or omission impairing surety's eventual remedy, by creditor losing security against the principal debtor, by misrepresentation, by concealment, failure of cause surety to join. So these are all about revocation of continuing guarantee. So the three situations, that is by notice, by death of the surety, by modes of discharge of surety, revocation is possible. Now we can discuss nature and extent of surety's liability. In general circumstances, the liability of surety arises only in case of default of principal debtor. So his liability is secondary. Liability of surety is coextensive with that of the principal debtor. If liability of the principal debtor reduces, then surety's liability also reduces. So this means liability of the surety is not primary, it is secondary. The liability of the surety comes only when the liability of the only when the principal debtor make any default. So liability of surety is coextensive with that of the principal debtor. If liability of principal debtor reduces, then surety's liability also reduces. Now we can discuss rights of surety. There are mainly three rights of surety: rights against the creditor, rights against the principal debtor, and a right against the co-surety. Okay, now we can discuss each right in detail. First one is rights against the principal debtor. Surety has some rights against the principal debtor. So the important rights are right of subrogation and right to indemnity. Right of subrogation. Section 140 of the Contract Act says that when the principal debtor had defaulted in making the payment or in performing the guaranteed duty, and the surety has paid the debtor or performed the duty, then the surety is invested with all the rights which the creditor had against the principal debtor. So that means on payment of all the liability, surety become just like as creditor, and he enjoyed all the facility that enjoyed by the creditor. This means on payment of the guaranteed debt, the surety step into the shoe of the creditor and can sue the principal debtor for recovery of the payment made by him. Now the next right is right to indemnity. Section 145 of the Contract Act laid down that in every contract of guarantee, there is an implied promise by the principal debtor to indemnify the surety, and the surety is entitled to recover from the principal debtor whatever amount he has rightfully paid under the guarantee, but no amount which he has paid wrongfully. This is the second right, that is right to indemnify. Right to indemnify what the surety is given for the contract. Now we can discuss the right of surety against creditor. The right of the surety against the creditor are right to security, right to claim set off, right of subrogation, right to insist on the creditor suing. So take the first right, that is right to security. According to section 141 of the Contract Act, surety is entitled to the benefit of every security which the creditor has against the principal debtor at the time when the contract of suretyship is entered. So that is the first right. Then next one is right to claim set off. Set off denotes a counter claim or deduction from the amount of loan. On being sued by the creditor for payment of principal debtor's liability, the surety is enabled to claim set off, if any, which the principal debtor had against the creditor. That is the right of set off. Then next is right of subrogation. After the surety pays the guaranteed debt or perform the guaranteed duty, he become entitled to every remedy which the creditor has against the debtor. That is known as right of subrogation. Next right is right to insist on the creditor suing. At any time after the guaranteed debt has become due and before being called up on to pay, the surety may insist upon the creditor suing the debtor to recover the guaranteed debt. So these are all about right against the creditor. Once again, right to security, right to claim set off, right to subrogation, and right to insist on the creditor suing are the rights which are enjoyed by the surety against the creditor. Now next one is rights against the co-surety. When a debt is guaranteed by two or more surety, they are called co-surety. So a surety has some right against its co-sureties. So the rights are right to claim contribution, a release of co-surety, right to share benefits of security. So take the first one, that is right to claim contribution. When there are several co-sureties and one of them have been compelled to pay the entire debt of the principal debtor, such a co-surety will have some right against other sureties. So the rights are co-surety liable to contribute equally, liability of co-surety bound in different sums. Now the next right is release of co-surety. when there are co-surety, a release by the creditor of one of them does not discharge the others. It also does not free the surety so released from his responsibility to other sureties. So these are all about a release of co-surety. The next and last one is right to share benefits of securities. At the time of the guarantee, if any security is received by one of the co-surety from the principal debtor, so the other surety also have the right to share that benefit of security equally. So these are all about a right against co-surety. Now the next topic for today's discussion is discharge of surety or discharge of surety from liability. Section 130 to 139 of the Indian Contract Act mentioned the provision relating to discharge of surety. Discharge of surety means termination of surety's liability. So there are so many situations are there. In that situation, surety is discharged from his liability. So the situations are discharge of surety by revocation, discharge of surety by conduct of the creditor, discharge of surety by invalidation of the contract of guarantee. So the first one is discharge of surety by revocation. In revocation, liability of the surety is discharged. So in revocation also some cases are there. So the first case is revocation by notice. In the case of continuing guarantee, by giving notice of revocation by the surety, he can relieved from his liability with respect to future transaction. So the first case is revocation by notice. Surety can release his liability by giving notice. Now the second one under this head is revocation by death of the surety. In the case of continuing guarantee, the death of the surety discharges his liability from doing that contract. Now the last one is revocation by novation. On novation, existing contract of guarantee is discharged and a new contract comes into existence. So these three cases are come under the situation discharge of surety by revocation. And now the next situation is discharge of surety by conduct of the creditor. A surety may also be discharged from his liability if the conduct of the creditor has any of the following consequences. So the consequences are variations in terms of the contract, release or discharge of the principal debtor, compounding by the creditor with the principal debtor, impairing surety's remedy, loss of security. So the first one under this category is variation in terms of the contract. Any variance made without the surety's consent in the terms of the contract between the principal debtor and the creditor, then surety can discharge his liability in that contract. That is the first case, that is a variance in the terms of the contract. If there is any change in terms of the contract between the principal debtor and the creditor without the consent of the surety, the surety gets discharged from the contract automatically. Now the second one is release or discharge of the principal debtor. The surety is discharged by any contract between the creditor and the principal debtor by which the principal debtor is released. Now the third situation is compounding by creditor with the principal debtor. According to section 135, a contract between the creditor and the principal debtor by which the creditor makes a composition with or promises to give time to or not to sue the principal debtor, then it will discharges the surety from the liability of doing that contract. Now the next one is impairing surety's remedy. It is the duty of the creditor to do every act necessary for the protection of the rights of the surety. And if he fails in his duty, the surety is discharged. Now the last case is loss of security. If the creditor loses or without the consent of the surety parts with any security given to him by the principal debtor at the time of making the contract of guarantee, the surety is discharged from the liability to the context of the value of the security. So these are all the cases which are come under discharge of surety by the conduct of the creditor. Now the next situation is discharge of surety by invalidation of the contract of guarantee. A surety stands discharged if the contract of guarantee is invalid or void. So the cases included in this case is guarantee obtained by misrepresentation or concealment, when co-surety does not join, failure of consideration, a lack of essential elements. So the first one is guarantee obtained by misrepresentation or concealment. Any guarantee which has been obtained by means of misrepresentation or fraud, or keeping silence as to material part of the transaction by the creditor, or with the creditor's knowledge and assent, then the liability of the surety is discharged. Now the second one is when co-surety does not join, or a person gives a guarantee upon a contract that a creditor shall not act upon it until another person has joined in it, that co-surety. The guarantee is not valid if that other person does not join. Now the next is failure of consideration. Where in a contract of guarantee there is a failure of consideration as between the creditor and the principal debtor, then the surety's liability is discharged. Last one is lack of essential elements, where it lacks one or more essential elements of the contract. For example, surety is incompetent to contract, or the objectives is illegal, then also the liability of the surety is discharged or released. Now look the questions related with this area. So the questions are what are the features of indemnity contract, what are the rights of indemnity holder, what are the essential features of a contract of guarantee. In a contract of guarantee there are 3 parties and 3 agreements. Comment. Bring out the differences between contract of indemnity and guarantee. What are the different kinds of guarantee? How a continuing guarantee revoked? Explain the nature and extent of surety's liability. So students, now I am going to conclude today's session. Today we give a detailed discussion regarding 2 types of special contracts, that is contract of indemnity and contract of guarantee. I hope all you get an idea regarding these 2 contracts. So we can wind up today's session. We can meet in our next class. Till then, bye. Take care.